Back on WPSD Local 6 Midday, another edition of Local 6 Legal Line, visiting with the Honorable Mark Bryant, the Honorable Emily Roark, a couple of the attorneys with the Bryant Law Center, Paducah, Mayfield, and Louisville. And as we mentioned a moment ago, topics today are mesothelioma and nursing home abuse. And Mark, we're going to start with you because we got a question from someone who says, I have recently been diagnosed with mesothelioma. Not only am I sad, but I am terrified. What do I do?
Oh, man, the first thing I want to tell you is I'm really, really sorry that you have that, because that is a terrible illness to have. It comes about from people that worked in plants around asbestos, and all the research shows that that is the only cause of mesothelioma, is working around asbestos. These cases have been going on since the 1960s, and yet they still happen. It is when you're diagnosed with mesothelioma, I don't want to go into the details of the illness, but it's a terrible illness. And if I were you, I would pick up the phone and call lawyers that handle mesothelioma cases. We have had many of them over the years. And what we do is get all the medical records, and once we have the medical records, we've got to file a lawsuit within 1 year of the time that you learn that you have mesothelioma. In Kentucky, there are questions about whether a secondary mesothelioma case can be filed. We have one of those right now that we did file, where a woman did not work at the plant, but her husband did, and he worked around asbestos and asbestos relief. And so you need to call, even if it's secondary. You could well have gotten it in the laundry. There's some case law in Kentucky that is not particularly good about that, but it's still, there's things that we can do to help you. And we file these lawsuits, and there's a trust that has billions of dollars in it that you know, from people that manufactured asbestos over the years, and we will file a lawsuit and get you a good settlement, a substantial amount of money for you and your heirs.
Do you want to explain secondary? Because that might...
Yeah, secondary,
people might not understand
that's a
that.
good idea. Secondary mesothelioma would be a good example of that. Is if your husband or wife worked at the plant and they would come home with their clothes, and you would wash their clothes, and years later, and I mean sometimes it's like 40, 50 years after the fact that you get mesothelioma. It takes that long. And so if you've ever had a spouse that worked in a plant, like many of the plants around here, Calvert City, TVA, USEC, all these places, they had lots and lots of asbestos in them, and companies would go and clean the asbestos out when it was found out it was detrimental to your health, and they too, those companies are held accountable for their workers getting mesothelioma. So just pick up the phone and call us, or if you have a friend that diagnosed with mesothelioma, we'd be glad to talk to you.
Good information indeed from the attorneys regarding cases for mesothelioma. That wraps up our segment for today as far as segment 1. Segment 2 is coming up, and we do have some questions in the pipe regarding nursing home abuse, so we'll get to those right after the break on WPSD Local 6 Legal Line.